My name is Noah, and I'm being followed by something. When I was a kid, we lived in this house. It wasn't very old, built in the 50s, maybe, I don't know, I'm speculating, I guess. I was pretty young, but one of the main things I remember from the house was the different things that happened to our family while we lived there. It was mostly things like tripping when there was nothing to trip on. The toilets would flush unexpectedly. When I was 5, this was all very entertaining to me, but as I grew older, whatever it was grew stronger. My mother told us never to talk about it, not to mention it to anyone, not even a teacher or a police officer, which is probably why my brother and I were taken away from my mom when whatever it was threw my brother down the stairs to the basement. Neither of us could talk, so CPS took us away. I don't blame my mom. It's not her fault. What are you supposed to tell someone when your kids are all bruised up and no one's saying a word? We spent a few weeks in different places, and then my brother and I were split up for permanent housing. It's been 15 years since I've seen him. I'm rambling. So over the past 15 years, not much has happened. I've grown up traveling all over the country, family to family. And as the years have passed, I've begun to wonder whether or not any of that stuff really happened. And your imagination runs wild when you're a kid, and memories are so easily obstructed. And now I'm 22, living on my own in a one-bedroom apartment, and nothing substantial has happened in 15 years. And I'm starting to get resentful. But the one thing that always keeps me in check is, if I imagined all that, then how come my brother and my mom saw it too? So one day I'm cleaning up my closet, and I found my memory box, a box that I had left unpacked since the move. And I left it taped up because at the time of getting my own apartment, I wanted to try and leave the last 22 years behind, you know? Start fresh, be normal, and forget. But as I'm sure anyone would agree, there are just a few things that always have too much sentimental value to throw away. When I saw the box, for whatever reason, I had to open it. Everything in there gave me warm feelings, made me homesick, lovesick. I hadn't been loved by anything or anyone since I was taken away. So on top there was a blanket, which smelled like my mom. She used to tie it around her hair and pretend that it was hers. It was such a stupid joke, but I got a real kick out of it when I was little. Then there was a model car that my mom and I built together. And I actually have memories of this car driving along the countertops and the dining room table, knocking things over. And it's funny because the memories are from inside the car, like I was actually driving it. I guess I really do have an active imagination. Anyway, so I went through everything in the box, shedding a tear here and there, and finally I came across my bear. I think his name was Nougat, or something like that. One of the nurses gave it to me when I was born. I guess she felt bad for me because I didn't have a dad. I don't know. I picked him up, and the second I touched him, I had, it wasn't like a bad feeling, but like a heaviness around me, like I was being watched. I hadn't felt this way in years. And I started thinking of my brother falling down the basement stairs, like he was pulled by a string around his waist, just straight across the doorway. And the sound. I didn't want to think about this. I didn't want to think about them. So I threw the bear in the box and I piled all the other crap on top of it. But I still couldn't bring myself to throw it away. I just couldn't, for whatever reason. Maybe I needed the security of knowing that I wouldn't permanently forget them. But for now, I needed to get them out of my mind. So I taped it back up with a few extra layers of packing tape as a protective barrier. And I shoved it on the top shelf in the back of the closet. What good is it to dwell on the past? You know, what am I gonna gain from crying over my circumstances? It was a lifetime ago. I'm a different person now. I have to move on. I finished my cleaning for the day, packing my closet shelves tight with winter clothes I wouldn't need to dig through for at least another 5 months. And satisfied with my progress, I rewarded myself with too much pizza, and I fell asleep on the couch in a food coma. So I guess about a week went by. It's hard to keep track with this stuff because it always happens when you least expect it. And I was sleeping in my bed. It had been a few hours since I packed it in for the night, but I think it was like 2:30 or 3:30. But I woke up, chilly. But it was the middle of July. I had a fan in my window blowing air, so I assumed it was that, and I fell back asleep. The next night, around the same time, I felt chilly again. And I pulled a blanket over myself and went back to sleep. The third night, it was downright cold. I took the fan out of my window and closed it. Problem solved, or so I thought. I went back to bed, but again, at 2:45, 3 o'clock, I was awoken by a cold breeze. I grabbed my phone from the table next to my bed and checked the temperature. It says it's 82 degrees outside. How could it be so cold in here? I breathe a hot breath in front of my phone to see if I can see it. Nothing. Strange. Feels like a walk-in freezer. I shut off my phone and I sit up, waiting for my eyes to adjust. And finally, when I can see, I head to the bathroom. But just as I get past my door into the hallway, a heat wave hits me. It must be 15 or 20 degrees warmer in the hallway, but how? It's almost unbearably warm. And I start to sweat. I convince myself that it's the fact that I'm awake at 3 in the morning that's messing with my perception, and I go to relieve myself. And as I wander down the hallway back to my room, I hear a really strange noise. Like a low growl that a cat gives off when it's hunting. And I freeze. Did I leave my door open? Maybe it was that noise that threw me, but I could have sworn. A cold breeze escapes my room and tingles my skin. And I hear the noise again. Must be some kind of animal. But that's impossible. Unless I brought it in myself, there's no way for something to get in here. A dark, tall shadow moves across the doorway. "Who's in there?" I yell, hoping for no answer. And the door slams in my face. And shocked, I stumble backwards, pounding into the wall behind me, and I fall to the floor. Without hesitation, I scramble down the hallway to the kitchen and grab a knife from the counter. Whatever the heck that was is up for a fight. I was sick and tired of the world telling me what to do, and for once I was finally going to fight for what's mine. I take a minute to collect myself. And then I begin to make my way back towards the bedroom. Inch by terrifying inch. With each step, my courage weakens. But I know I'm on my own now. And if I can't defend my home, what good am I? Finally, I reach my door. And I gently grab the knob. Ice cold. My body temperature drops. This is it. I slowly begin to turn the knob, trying not to make a sound. If I can surprise it and have the upper hand, then the noise catches me off guard and I release the knob, which makes a loud click. Crap! I take a step back. So much for the element of surprise. If I could only just see what's in there, I might be able to prepare a little better, put some of these nerves at rest. Ah, under the door. I drop to my stomach and press my face against the carpet, squinting under the door. The cold air pouring out stings my eyeballs. Nothing. Can't see a damn thing. I've just got to commit. I stand up, courage back to 80%, knife in hand, and I tell myself, all you have to do is commit. On the count of 3. 1, I place my hand back on the ice cold knob. 2, my body tightens and I take in a deep breath. 3, I throw myself into the bedroom, door swinging wide, knife waving in the air. Ah! Ah! Nothing. Not even cold, it's just sort of muggy and cool. I dreamt the whole thing. I take a deep breath and lower my guard. Placing the knife on my nightstand, I go to close my bedroom door. And just then, out of the corner of my eye, I see a dark spot. A shadow. Tall and thin, creating a void in my vision. I'm afraid to turn and look. But the longer I stand here, the more afraid I get. I need to commit. So I take a deep breath and I force myself to turn, and as I turn, the shadow weightlessly sweeps into my closet, letting out another low growl. And something comes rolling out of the closet, which startles me and sends me backwards. I wasn't prepared for small things to come darting at my feet, and I trip on yesterday's clothes and topple backwards, the side of my bed catching my fall. And as I'm sitting there, I realize what's in front of me. Sitting perfectly in the middle of my floor, staring at me with its black, empty eyes, is my bear. Well, that's my story. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps. It's free for you and lets you know when my stories come out. But for me, it's something much bigger. 1, it's a dedicated fan base of people who I enjoy talking to. 2, every subscriber I get gets me closer and closer to the funding that I really would like to have so that I can do this as a full-time job, so that I can create the films and hire the actors and the crew that I want to hire in order to make films and more stories like this. And if you want to talk to me personally, I've got a Twitter and a Facebook, and I'm thinking about starting up an Instagram. The new video feature, I feel like in 15 seconds I could tell really short, scary stories, make really short, scary films, and do promos for videos that are coming up later in that week. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.